Hot toddy indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the IWE Date with Destiny pre-show. You're watching this just hours removed, well, just hours before, should I say, the festivities of this Saturday. It is going to go off March 25th, Wrestle Sports and Leisure Centre. There's going to be a QR code on the screen throughout this show. If you fancy yourself a ticket to see some of the best independent wrestling in Britain, now is the time. Get them while they're hot, because the prices will increase on the door to £10. But right now it's £7.50 for adults. It's £5 for under 16s. And like I said, Wrestle Sports and Leisure Centre, not only is it a fantastic venue, free parking, completely accessible for disabled carers, always come free of charge at our shows, which is fantastic news. And we've got 6 matches on a delectable afternoon of professional wrestling. Doors will open at 5 p.m. Show starts at a prompt 5:30. I am, of course, Aeron Nix, your videographer for the afternoon. Joining me, of course, will be your magnificent master of ceremonies, one of my favorite people in professional wrestling. It is, of course, the legend that is Adam Wessex. Welcome, sir.
Absolute pleasure to be here, and especially be able to talk about IWE. I mean, this card is absolutely on fire, and I cannot wait to go through it.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely delicious. I must apologise for my lack of dress sense. Adam Wessex has got me beating all ends up there. It's man, is he going to be as dapper as hell this Saturday?
I'll get you an Adam Wessex tie, don't you worry.
Absolutely, oh, that'd be awesome. Absolutely, I've seen your logo. It looks good. Of course it does, because I bloody made it. IWE, yes, indeed. So 6 matches on tap. Let's start with something that's going to be very intriguing. 2 debutants making their arrival. There's been a lot of changes. People would have seen it on social media, but we're hoping that the card will stay as it is. But it is subject to change. So my apologies if the matches we're talking about by the time this comes out, if they do for some reason change. But as always with wrestling, we cannot really understand the landscape, and injuries do happen. But we start, of course, with 2 of my favorite people in professional wrestling. We have one half of the Bushido Storm. Yes, indeed, the heavy-hitting conqueror of the Norse Greek mythology that is, of course, Ajax. He'll be facing 1/3 of the current reigning and defending CWP Tag Team Champions from the Bromance, Cameron Cream Anderson, who is finally going to make his debut. He was scheduled and slated to be at the last show they did. Unfortunately, due to train strikes, he couldn't make it. So this time around, Cameron Anderson is in the house. One-on-one, it is going to be 2 of the most exciting and yet arguably most unrecognized talents in our industry.
It's going to be such an exciting time. Both of them are wanting to make their debuts, but also both of them are wanting to show that they don't need the other people that they wrestle with. They are going to be hungry. They're going to be clawing at the bit, and they're going to be making sure that the fans get a really good match. I mean, I have to ask, Nick, who do you have for this?
I mean, it's very difficult because they're both very close friends. This is obviously a great contrast to styles. Out-and-out power from Ajax, the heavy hitter from Bushido Storm, the man with the rising knee lift that could end anyone's fucking evening early. You can tell, I'll tell you what, when he hits that, it's lights out. You don't get up from that. You can count to 10. However, Cameron Anderson, one of the most exciting athletes, one of the great personalities. What an incredibly mature shoulder this kid has on his head. Cameron Anderson knows how much I love him. Ajax knows how much I love him. You can believe all the nonsense that you hear online, but the bottom line is that these guys I'm extremely invested in. I've spent a lot of time helping them out and just basically looking after them, because that's what we do. We give it back in professional wrestling. I would like to, obviously I'm a Meaty Hoss guy, so I'm looking at Ajax and I'm thinking this could be his opportunity. This is his chance to break out. Here's somebody who's not been afforded too many opportunities on the mainland whatsoever, and now he has arrived and he has got a very busy week ahead of him. We know he's on other shows as well, but this is a very high caliber matchup, because whoever wins this immediately states a claim of, hey, look at me, I'm the new kid on the block, I'm the fresh talent here. And all of a sudden, all the other guys on the roster are looking over their shoulder thinking, hey, this is a potential #1 contender in the making, as all the singles matches will prove. I think what's exciting about this show is the fact that we have all these singles matches on tap, and potentially every single one of those winners could go into a #1 contendership match. And then we really will have an idea of what the landscape is going to look like when IWE returns to Essex on September the 30th, which will be their next show. So
it's been a long time since the last show. So when people are coming in, they really are. And the fans themselves, they've been crying out for this to come back. So when people like Cameron Anderson, who absolutely thrives on that support from the crowd, and, you know, he is incredibly charismatic. The amount of people he's made swoon on his entrances. And we're going to be seeing that come up as well. And Ajax is very focused, he's very powerful, but
Very
he doesn't
stoic.
necessarily have the fans the way that Cameron does. And I think that's going to be the difference maker. And I think it's going to be close, but I think in my book, I think Cameron's got this one.
Both men very skillful and very talented,
Absolutely.
and so it's exciting nonetheless. Now, speaking of singles action, Corey McRae, one of the most dangerous and most educated men when it comes to feet. My lord, this man could kick your face off. Absolutely. He might look like Conor McGregor, but trust me, he's much more lethal and he's got a much more stoic attitude. He certainly isn't throwing chairs around in pubs like Mr. McGregor is, and we can say that much. He's going to be facing the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, one of the sexiest men walking this earth, the man of steel, the man who, when he takes his top off, all other men put their tops back on. My lord, chiseled is an understatement. This guy's body is something else, and that's just image-wise. Talent-wise, one of the most athletic people I've ever seen. Now, a lot of people in Essex will recognize him from RCWA, which is obviously a very famed promotion, somewhere that with Ospreay, really helped apply his craft in professional wrestling before he moved on to bigger and better things. The Man of Steel is incredible, and he's facing Corey McRae. These are two lights-out athletes, and once again, it's a first-time matchup that's never been seen before. Corey McRae making his debut at IWE. Man of Steel, of course, last time out faced Leonardo Darwin in the absolute show stealer that was their one-on-one match, which you can check out on this very YouTube channel, and I highly recommend you do so because it was absolutely fantastic. Obviously these are two guys that you will not have experienced too much, but you've seen the footage.
I've seen the footage, and I've got to say, I think it's a really interesting difference in styles. The silverback Corey McRae is so brutal, so aggressive. I think it's the agility of MOS, the Man of Steel. This is going to be an incredible match just for seeing those different styles clash. Who comes out on top? Is it the high flying? Is it the speed? Or is it the ruthless aggression? It's going to be something that's going to be exciting to see. And I haven't seen either of these ones in the flesh, and I am incredibly excited to have the best seat in the house for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Both me and you will be front and center to see this. It's one of those things. Can MOS avoid the contact of those precision kicks? If he can, then he should have the edge. He's going to need all his agility. As we saw, actually, a very similar style of matchup in many ways. Obviously, we spoke about AEW's Del Vikingo match against Kenny Omega. That's a very similar contrast of styles. The quick, brutal striking versus the out-and-out extreme athleticism and agility. Man of Steel and Corey McRae, too hard to call. It's one of those things. If Corey McRae makes too much contact, Man of Steel is going to be in big trouble. However, if Corey McRae can't pick up the speed game, MOS is just as likely to get a quick roll-up. It doesn't necessarily have to be a high-impact maneuver. It doesn't necessarily have to be some crazy inverted 630 cow flip or anything of that kind of nature, which MOS is capable of. He could just get him with a sneaky roll-up. He could just catch him off guard. It's all about speed for me in this.
But that's the thing,
both men personify speed, but in very different styles. Who you got?
I think I'm going to be going with the silverback for this one. I think, Man of Steel is so quick, but if he gets caught with a few of those kicks, he won't be climbing up into anywhere. He won't be walking anywhere. But as you said, it could be so close, this one. He's definitely got the speed to avoid him, but if he just makes one mistake and Corey takes advantage, I think that's why I'm going to have to give it to Corey.
I think Man of Steel obviously also has the advantage of working in this arena before, working in front of this audience. Very popular, as you can imagine. Super charismatic, lovely guy. One of the real cool gentlemen of professional wrestling. Got all the time in the world for this man. He looks $1 million. I will say one thing. His size actually belies his athleticism. He's actually a very big and stacked gentleman. And I feel like he might be able to take more punishment from Corey McRae and maybe other guys will. That's, for me, the defining factor, which is why I fancy Man of Steel just to edge this. But let's be honest, just like the first match that we spoke about, whoever comes out of this got to be considered one of the #1 contenders for the IWE UK National Championship, which is going to be defended at the end of the afternoon.
Again, this is another match that for many promotions would be their headliner. Nearly everything on this could well headline its own show.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 more singles matches on tap. Once again, opportunities play here because there aren't titles on the line, but there is a lot of credibility. Not to mention, there is the opportunity to stake your claim. You know what? You wouldn't be fooled if IWE decided to take all 4 singles winners and slap them in a fatal 4-way to determine who is the very best. Ebenezer the Geezer. He's announced that he's going to be retiring at the end of this year, but he's looking to walk away from this business with some gold, and he won't necessarily have the opportunity to win gold during this matchup. However, he is facing someone who is a champion, the Savage Pro Wrestling champion, Roger, the main event seer, someone you know better than pretty much anyone else. ACW's own, a man that you've watched grow from the beginning to the end. Same as myself, I've had the pleasure of being ringside for most of Roger Sear's fledgling career, and despite his age, absolutely incredible. His meteoric rise from where he started to where he is. The mean streak is real in Roger Sears, and he's going up against the absolute wall of charisma, everybody's favorite wrestler, IWE, the man of the moment, Ebenezer the Geezer. It's charisma versus ruthless attitude. Who do you fancy in this one?
I mean, you said it, Nix. I knew Roger when he was my head official, and he found that aggression, he found that mean streak, and he's been riding that, and he's only got meaner. Now, one of the things, though, is that both of these wrestlers believe their time as wrestlers is limited. Roger Sears isn't the youngest wrestler. He knows he has to make his impact now. And Ebenezer is about to retire, and he needs to make sure that he goes away in the way that he makes him proud to walk away. There is so much on the line here. I think well over and above what you'd have with tag team gold, singles gold, or any gold. But Roger Sears, he's made an impact everywhere he's been. I've seen him in ACW, I've seen him in Savage, I've seen him all over the South. And I think that he needs to make sure that he doesn't fall prey to Ebenezer's incredible charisma. He doesn't just do that to give everyone else a laugh. Ebenezer plays with his opponents. He's very cerebral, way more than people think. Yeah. But if Roger can keep his temper under control, I think Roger Sears has this one. But I wouldn't put past the Geezer doing something to throw him off his game.
Mr. Charisma himself, the full-time Geezer, the man who hits like a fridge freezer, the man who enjoys a Bacardi Breezer. He enjoys many a drink at a bar, by the way. Obviously, people remember him against Danny Disorder. What an outrageous contest that was at IWE. I've never seen two egos clash so much. But something about Ebenezer, he's special. Where as soon as he bursts through the curtain, energy fulfills this entire arena, and all of a sudden we have a real star, someone with palpable charisma. And there's only one man on this roster, and I think you know exactly who I'm talking about, who we're going to be speaking about in a moment, and he's the only one who can really match him when it comes to that sheer level of attitude, charisma, that larger-than-life personality. Ebenezer the Geezer is what I think of when I remember wrestling as a kid. These larger-than-life characters, these personas that are just completely out of this world. I do fancy him in this matchup. However, we have seen Roger Sears as well before. Last time he was here, like you mentioned, tag team gold. Him and JC Cardi, who's another one that you will know very well from ACW, they had the opportunity to dethrone Good Goth Almighty for the tag team championships. Came up short. I was a referee for that match, if you can believe that. And getting to see that up close and personal. I'll tell you what, they came pretty close, and they had Good Goth Almighty on the ropes, and that was Roger Sears at a moment's notice jumping into a tag team match with somebody he'd never tagged with before. This time, he's had all the time in the world to prepare. Even when the show was cancelled back in November and moved back to March, he still has the same opponent, unlike a lot of guys on this roster. So he's had all the time in the world to scout, and he is, like you say, incredibly dangerous, incredibly cerebral. He was literally a hiccup away from becoming the first ACW heavyweight champion against Scott Jones as well.
So close.
So this is a man with a pedigree. He has credibility, and not only that, he's an incredibly dangerous talent. Don't be fooled by the looks. Don't be fooled by the fact that this is a wiser, older gentleman than maybe your average professional wrestler. He has got the IQ, and I always talk about this in sports and sports entertainment alike. IQ is the most dangerous weapon you can have when you are a performing athlete of any kind. So Roger Sears is definitely going to provide an extremely tough test for Ebenezer. Let's not forget as well.
He was our head official for a long time. It's not just about knowing wrestling. He knows every single rule in that book, and he knows how to break them and still make sure that he doesn't get disqualified. He uses everything he's learned from years of watching, years of practicing, and now years of doing to make sure that he gets the way that he needs to go. His only weakness is that temper of his.
Yeah, absolutely. He believes he's owed something, and he might just take it if he gets his opportunity. And let's not forget as well, one final thought. It is worth pointing out Ebenezer and Roger Sears have had fleeting interactions in other promotions, PCW, for instance, and CWP, where they have crossed paths, even if it has been just briefly in tag team affairs. This time, though, for the first time, one-on-one. 1. So yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, your favorite Ebenezer will be in the house. And if that isn't enough for you to want to buy a ticket, our final singles match will absolutely have you creaming your jorts, ladies and gentlemen, because it is indeed the mega matchup. This could main event WrestleMania, which is in a week's time, as far as I'm concerned. It is, of course, the King of Hell, everyone's favorite demon, Damien, returns, the former IWE UK National Champion. And I'll tell you what, he's in a foul mood because, of course, the last time we saw him, he, of course, was destroyed, demolished in some ways. Some people might say he had his title taken from him by Scott Jones, a huge upset in the main event of that show, or the co-main event. And, of course, he's back once again, and he's facing arguably, when we talk about wrestling and sports entertainment, you cannot talk about anyone without talking about the good Dr. Daddy Dom, the Prophet, the King of the North, the former Rise Underground heavyweight champion, the former Rapid Action Wrestling heavyweight champion, and arguably the greatest promo to ever walk the British Isles. We, of course, talk about Leonardo Darwin. Talk to me about this match.
What a match. I mean, this could very easily steal any other match on the card. This is a match people would travel hundreds of miles to watch. Leonardo Darwin versus Damien. I mean, both of these are brutal, strong, dangerous wrestlers. Both of these are people who have literally shook audiences across the UK. Like, you know, you have people begging to have these turn up individually anywhere, and we've got them both against each other at IWE. This is absolutely going to be an incredible match. The undeniable, somewhat horrifying charisma of Leonardo Darwin as well. Against that, you know, as you mentioned, Damien doesn't let grudges die. He's coming in angry. He's coming in furious, and he's looking forward to making impact. I watched how he lost that title. It was a strong, horrifying match. It went all the way across the entire of the Real Sports and Social Club, and even went outside. You know, he takes a hell of a lot to put down. But this is the thing. I don't think either of these men feel pain. I don't think either of these men go down easy. You know, this is going to be brutal.
This is what I got into professional wrestling for. This is why I broke into the business, to record and be a part of matches like this. This goes beyond your average Sunday or Saturday afternoon at your local center. This is a high impact, high caliber, cinematic grade wrestling match between two of the very best wrestlers walking this earth, in my opinion. I have spoken ad nauseum about how special Damien is. One of the preeminent hosses, one of the greatest big men to ever walk the British Isles. And let's not forget as well, people haven't seen it as much because they're so enamored with who he is now and what he's become and his trip down Hell's Lane, essentially. But this is a man that has wrestled some of the very best wrestlers in the world, former WWE champions. He has faced them. He has faced those people. If you look at his body of work, he's a guy who's been in the business for 20 years as well. And again, standing opposite him in the ring is Leonardo Darwin, trained by the vaunted Brian Kendrick in California, as well as Lance Storm in Canada at the Storm Wrestling Academy. This is a man who took wrestling so seriously and wanted to be trained by two former WWE champions. He has the body, he has the charisma, he has the look, just like Damien does, in a very different capacity. Incredibly impossible to call. However, we have to pick, because we don't sit on the fence here at Wrestle Plug, which of course is providing you with this pre-show for IWE's YouTube channel. Who do you have, Leonardo Darwin or the King of Hell, Damien?
Well, you know me, I do like myself a bit of eyeliner. I'm going to have to go with Damien. I think Leonardo Darwin is absolutely incredible, but I think Damien just isn't going to go down. I don't know. Like, this is going to be a fight that's going to go on the entire night. I would be surprised if we're there the next day and these two are still slugging it out. But I think Damien might be able to just pip this one. But it is going to be so close. And it's going to be a hell of a show to watch.
I'm bringing extra batteries because I don't trust these two. I feel like they could be going on a long time. We got the power banks ready for this, ladies and gentlemen. And there's a spin on words there with power bank that you can imagine is what we're thinking about when it comes to this match. Oh, baby. But tried and tested, I have watched him through his arguably most dangerous stint of his career so far. I've been blessed to be in the ring personally and watch it right in front of me. And I've also been in the ring with Damien as well as a wrestler, which is a terrifying concept for a lot of people. I know how it feels to be hit by Damien. It does not feel good. My ear still hurts to this day, and we're talking 3 or 4 years removed from the opportunity. That is one vicious, right? He's got hands like skillets. However, the good doctor Leonardo Darwin is, in my opinion, the most dangerous and most charismatic wrestler that Britain has. I fancy him he's the one man who could potentially outthink and out cerebral somebody like Damien. I think he's got the IQ and he's got the manipulation in his pocket to do so. I fancy Leonardo Darwin to edge this. And also, let's not forget head games. What does Leonardo Darwin have in store? He's not just going to come out as a wrestler. He's not that guy. He is not your bread and butter journeyman. He's not just a professional wrestler. He's a professional entertainer. And he's also
the other thing
a
is,
wild character.
Yeah, Leonardo Darwin doesn't need the cheers of the crowd. In fact, he feeds on the hate from the crowd. Last time that he was at IWE, he made an impact, and there was a lot of hate, and he loved every moment of it.
Yeah, he is absolutely a juggernaut of abuse, and he loves it. And for me, there is no stopping the current rise of Leonardo Darwin. He is the one breaking the internet on a weekly basis, and I thoroughly expect him to do so once again. So that leaves 2 matches. There are 2 magnificent title matches on tap for us. Unfortunately, no women's championship match. Mia Cortez, due to personal reasons, could not make this show, and Alfie is unfortunately injured as well. So both individuals will not be able to compete at this show. But we can promise you that Mia Cortez will be defending a women's championship at the next possible opportunity. And we hope that will be at their next show on September 30th, when they will return to Chelmsford, Essex. So WWE, it may as well be. I mean, ultimately, it's a mistake from me. Yes, I am human, ladies and gentlemen, just like Adam Wessex, if you can believe that. And ultimately, the IWE Tag Team Championships are on the line. The longest reigning champions in this company by some margin, although some people might argue that it has an asterisk next to it because they have held those belts throughout COVID. And there was a period of about 2 years where they didn't defend them. However, knocking on about 4 years, I believe, the absolute interest. I mean, obviously, somebody who you're going to be very close to, judging by your lifestyle choices, Good God Almighty, they are the current reigning tag team champions. They were scheduled to face the Rebellion. Unfortunately, due to booking conflicts, the Rebellion are not available for this show, which is a real loss for us because ultimately they are one of the best tag teams walking this earth. However, Good God Almighty have selected some up-and-coming talents. Thy Kingdom, an interesting pair from the Great British Wrestling Alliance, which actually operates just down the road and is also starting to make its name working for a number of fledgling promotions that are going to be debuting this year across the South Coast. We don't know much about Thy Kingdom. What we do know is that they are 2 very large, meaty lads with face paint, which should excite you tremendously. As I know you love a bit of eyeliner, or guyliner, should I say, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, as you can see from this man right here, you know what? It works for some people. It really does. What a handsome mofo he is. But Thy Kingdom will challenge Good God Almighty for the Tag Team Championships and a relatively unknown contest for most. Who do we have here? Do we subscribe to the theory that maybe Good God Almighty have selected this team because they want to face, shall we say, a less than accomplished challenge?
Well, I think it's an interesting one. I mean, firstly, I think that Thy Kingdom wouldn't be taking the opportunity if they didn't think they had a chance. And while, yeah, they are a bit of an unknown, that means that Good God Almighty don't know anything about them either. They haven't had a chance to study up the tape. But Thy Kingdom can watch all the tape on Good God Almighty. They can speak to everyone else who's ever gone up against them. So they have the advantage on that side. It's very hard for me to make a decision on this one without knowing Thy Kingdom. But, you know, Good God Almighty aren't the IWE Tag Team Champions for no reason. The Goth Daddy and the Urban Goth Frankie T, you know, they have really taken the world by storm. I think they've got some great capabilities. Both of them work so well together. They've been doing this for a long time together. And that chemistry is a hell of a lot of a difference maker. But I think maybe you might be right, Nix. Maybe they have tried to take the easy option. But will it bite him in the arse? That's what I'm thinking. There's a chance of it. But as a betting man, my money would be on Frankie T and the Goth Daddy Xander.
Yeah, I mean, even me, like with my, I do raise an eyebrow when I look at this stuff, and I think, come on, guys, like I just feel like there's great, no disrespect to Thy Kingdom. I'm excited to see these guys because I love seeing brand new talent on it. And one thing I love about IWE is it has always been the breeding ground for opportunity. This, as we've seen with Ajax and Cameron Anderson, especially, we don't shy away from booking talents here at IWE. We give them an opportunity. We don't allow people to just fester in the wind. We give them a platform to work. And for Thy Kingdom, this is a massive opportunity. You're coming in the door, you're making your debut, and you have the chance to be champions. And as we saw, Roger Sears and JC Cardi were a hiccup away from capturing those tag team titles, and they were a relatively unknown duo of singles talents. This is a well-oiled machine, we're told, and it's a very hard-hitting one. Do they have the potential? Again, we haven't got the tape to study them. We don't know what they're capable of doing. They could be 6'10" for all we know. It could be like the Brothers of Destruction. In which case, look out. We could have a massive upset on our hands. One thing I will say, the X Factor, as always, who never gets enough coverage for me, is also the member of Demon Death Squad. So he knows Damien very well. And that is, of course, the Goth Daddy Xander, who is, for me, one of the best professional wrestlers on the British Isles. He's incredibly charismatic, whereas Frankie T is a very stoic, very quiet individual. Xander has no problem grabbing the mic and letting people know exactly what he thinks at all times. The man with the sexiest gait to walk in this earth. He is a good-looking man. And this is a guy who, honestly, he's a rock star in professional wrestling. That's how I see him. He feels like a megastar in the making. It's strange. Like, he does so many incredible things, and yet doesn't seem to have the breakout personality that maybe he should do.
And it's a surprise because he really does. Like, the charisma that he has in the ring, the charisma he has with the crowd, it's impossible to miss. I think he's definitely someone who's been overlooked across the rest of the UK. But I think this year he's been all over the place. He's definitely making his impact, and he's hungry. Some people came out of the pandemic lazy. Xander came out of the pandemic full of fire. And I cannot wait to see that enacted for the next show.
Yeah. Bad blood and opinions aside, one thing I will say for Good God Almighty, in the best shape I've ever seen both of these gentlemen. Frankie T as well deserves a lot of love and a lot of admiration for the amount of weight he's lost, the fact that he's gone through this incredible transformation. His body's looking better than ever. He's been training in MMA as well. So this is somebody who obviously knows how to hit hard. And, combined with the straight charisma and athleticism of Xander, you can see why they are tag team champions. So it's going to be a very unique contest. I do fancy Good God Almighty because it's the home turf. It is, of course, the experience factor as well. And I think Thy Kingdom might come unstuck by that. Maybe they might be overhauled by the entire grandeur of the occasion because it is going to be the biggest ever capacity as well in terms of tickets sold for this event, which is very exciting to see.
As it should be. This card is incredible.
Yes, indeed. And like I've said, ladies and gentlemen, scan that QR code, head to the description of this video, buy yourself a ticket. You can buy them on the door, but they will be £10 on the door. So to guarantee that cheapest possible price, make sure you grab it. And don't forget, of course, there is a bar that is going to be in operation, fully stocked with all your favorites. And not to mention, it is a family-friendly event. All are welcome, fully accessible, and free parking. You don't want to miss it. And then one of the major reasons you will not want to miss it is because in our main event for the IWE UK National Championship, Scott Jones, your brand new champion. Some refer to him as Purple Pants. He's very popular indeed. He's a lovely young lad. And of course, he is everyone's favorite Scotsman. He'll be putting the belt on the line against two incredible individuals in a 1-fall to a finish triple threat match for this title. It is, of course, his long-term and bad blood rival. Talk about frenemies to straight enemies. It is Ollie Blake, the Lightning Kid, again, making his debut, replacing the current #1 contender, one of two #1 contenders, Danny Disorder, who unfortunately is injured and cannot compete. And what a replacement IWE has brought in, arguably an upgrade to some in a former NXT UK wrestler. This is somebody who has wrestled on the biggest platform. And then, of course, the X Factor in this match, the man who doesn't have to care whatsoever, everyone's favorite, the athletic and beautiful man that is KM Lane. 3 men with an astonishing track record, with incredible physiques, with incredible mindsets. They are the future of our business, and all 3 of them will clash at Date with Destiny in a triple threat match for the gold, the big gold. Who do you fancy in a triple threat match with a lot of emotion and a lot of talent?
I know I'm incredibly invested in this one. For those who don't know, I've been by the side of some of these wrestlers as this feud has been going on. I've seen them fight. I've seen Scott Jones and Ollie Blake be against each other. I've seen them together. They trained together before all of this bad blood started rising. They know each other like no one else on earth does. And like on a 1v1, I think it's so close, literally within a half inch of either way. But you've got that extra person in the ring. If they start focusing too much on taking each other down, he can come in at any time. And we've seen what he can do when he climbs up high. We've seen what he can do when he's allowed to unleash his agility. You've got to be so careful with KM Lane as well. Yeah, and again, like, but maybe these two frenemies might remember that they once had something in common, and or maybe they don't want KM Lane to start getting involved in their match. I mean, there's so many ways this could go, but I think the grand scheme of things, Scott Jones has beaten Ollie Blake in ACW. It was unbelievably close, but he did. KM Lane is in a really awkward position, which he needs to capitalize on. If he can, I think this is his for the taking. But if he again makes a mistake, or if those two gang up on him, I think it's going to be in Scott's. Yeah, and that's even against the NXT superstar that is Ollie Blake. But to be reminded, everyone, they both turned their back on me, so they're lucky to get a compliment. But we'll let that lie.
That's fine. We'll let it slide for now. I mean, we've both got issues, haven't we, with members of this roster, if we're being honest. Bottom line is that it's always a cliche. You hear it all the time in mainstream wrestling and independent wrestling. It doesn't matter where you hear it, but it does have a great grain of truth to it. And that is, of course, that if you're the champion, you don't have to be pinned to lose your title here. This is one fall to a finish. Scott Jones needs to let the emotion lie. He cannot let it overhaul him. He cannot allow all his personal feelings, his vendetta, his revenge with Ollie Blake. I know that there's, okay, Ollie Blake, it's difficult, isn't it? Because as you've seen in ACW in particular, there's been a change of heart from Ollie Blake a little bit recently as well, which is obviously probably disappointed you as well as it has a number of people who would align themselves with him. But there's still a great deal of animosity between these two. KM Lane, on the other hand, no emotional connection whatsoever to either of these gentlemen. Now, KM Lane lost the triple threat match for the number one contendership at the last show, but he was able to rebound and win the battle royal that closed the show to determine a second number one contender. A very special circumstance where we crowned two number one contenders for this match. So KM Lane has the fire, he has the intensity, he's extremely popular. Again, one of the most likable people in professional wrestling and one of the most professional, let's not forget, trained by Mike Bird, who is pretty much a talent factory of his own down at Catch 22. In my opinion, the best of what is many incredible training facilities for professional wrestling in the British Isles. This is a place that has people like Spike Trevay, Sky Smithson coming through it. Livy Grace, Jake O'Grady, Tommy Lawrence. These are all the very best of the best physiques, professionalism, mentality. And Mike Bird, very cerebral. Also a member of the Progress roster, somebody who is still plying his trade and wrestling some of the very best. And of course, it's Mike Bird who had a hand in training and helping out and working alongside people like Pete Dunne and Flash Morgan Webster and a number of, the names of our business. So KM Lane has the very best tuition. He has the very best mentality. Can he pick his spot? I think he can. I fancy KM Lane to capture the IWE UK National Championship. But it's all on Scott Jones, isn't it? A lot of people are saying, you beat Damien, felt like a bit of a fluke. You got a bit lucky. He seemed to be demolishing you and you caught him with that knee strike. But that's what makes Scott Jones so special. In a lightning moment, he can, pun intended, by the way, hit somebody with that knee and capture gold. And that's what he did at the last show. If he hits it again out of nowhere, again, he could be the retaining champion. Big call for him. You fancy Scott Jones? I fancy
Scott for this one. But I really think it's his to lose as well, just as much. They need to control their temper, they need to control their anger, and they need to remember that it's a triple threat. It's not a singles. And they could throw the opportunity at KM Lane, but at the same point, Ollie Blake is an NXT superstar for a reason. He is incredibly clever, incredibly strong, and incredibly tough. It takes a hell of a lot to put him away, and he could quite easily take this as well. It's another one of those ones that it's difficult to call, but I think Scott will take this by an inch.
6 matches of the very best independent professional wrestling this country can possibly offer. There are champions from a multitude of different companies. There are going to be promoters from multitudes of different companies in the house. Everybody wants to see this, and there is very, very few tickets left. I do know this. So if you want to confirm your seat in the house for this incredible event, you absolutely must grab it now. You've got less than 24 hours for when you're watching this, by the way, so you've got to get involved very quickly. Scan that QR code, hit the description, hit the links, get yourself some tickets. And ultimately, because of cost of living, IWE has made a statement and made it very clear they will not be raising their ticket prices. They will remain the cheapest possible, and arguably the cheapest on the entire British Isles when it comes to the sheer quality of content that they're providing for people here. This is a spectacular card, a stacked one, full of megastars of our business.
It is insane for the low price you're paying, and it's a proper venue with decent parking, drinking, everything you could want. I mean, this is a whole day, and it's a whole day for the family. You know, you are foolish if you're not going to be there. In fact, I'm as excited to be in the ring watching these as I am to be emceeing. I'm gonna have to remember to be doing my job, because these shows, these card is unbelievable.
Yeah, if you needed any more incentive, and you shouldn't at this point, but ultimately Wrestle Plug will be providing videography and media on the day, so you know it's going to look good. Adam Wessex is going to be calling all the action as the MC. He is literally one of the very best in this business of what he does. And of course, we have the incredible Matt Raven, south of heaven, doing photography at ringside and during the day. And he might be capturing a few sneaky shots of you in the audience as well, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you bring your signs, make sure you bring your energy, because you could be a part of the show, and we absolutely will be sharing all of those photographs. There may even be an opportunity to have an in-ring photography session with one, if not more, of some of these incredible superstars. So it's really, really going to be a day out. Like Adam Wessex says, it's a full day's entertainment, and it's a full day's entertainment for the price of a couple of cups of coffee, which is just madness in itself. Get yourself a ticket, secure it. You can buy them on the door, like we say, but you will have to pay a little bit extra. So the best way to ensure you get the cheapest price is to hit that link or scan that QR code and join us at IWE Date with Destiny at Wrestle Sports and Leisure Centre, because it is going to be something else. For myself, Aeron Nix, and especially from the wonderful Adam Wessex, thank you very much for watching. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Saturday in Essex.
See you on Saturday
for an incredible afternoon of professional wrestling.
Baby, can't you see I'm calling? A guy like you should wear warning. It's dangerous, I'm falling. There's no escape, I can't wait to need a hit. Baby, give me it. You're dangerous, I'm loving it.